Hey Soul family. So we've just come out of the Samhain portal, All Hallows Eve a couple of nights ago, Dia de los Muertos yesterday. We're very much in a time of, the veil feeling thin. It's an opportunity to connect with our ancestors and the spirit realm and spirit world, and I just feel like guidance from these past versions of ourselves that we've laid to rest and these future versions that are emerging and coming to life. And so there's a lot right now that I have been processing personally around my rebirth, this new skin that I'm stepping into, and this new embodiment, that's wanting to emerge as a part of the divine feminine Christ that is walking here incarnated on the planet right now. And there is an archetype specifically that feels really alive and activated at this time that I really, really want to speak to. And it is one that I have definitely been on all sides of. And I just feel in my heart so deep to really just speak to this energy, and that is the energy of the sorceress and the energy of the seductress, and the way that we wield our sexual power and energy, specifically as the divine feminine on the earth at this time. And I feel that this ties in quite well to my last video, talking about, the kind of pros and cons of, not really pros, but just the pros of abstaining and the cons of promiscuity, and pornography and things of the like. And just staying on the theme of our purity and keeping our connection to our purity, and how we can do that while also being like in our bodies, being embodied in our sexuality and our sensuality that is connected to the Most High, and like how do we be with that and move with that in a way that's actually life-giving and nourishing and supportive of our dreamscapes and what God is having us do here as creators, as sovereign creators on the planet, ushering in the kingdom of heaven. And so I want to preface this by saying, like, I'm only able to speak to what I'm about to speak to because I have been initiated through this, because I have gone through personally the experience of severe sexual oppression. And this is also like just a collective thing that we're speaking to here with the feminine. We're talking about 50s housewives, the witch wound, like women just being so not allowed. And this is still happening on the planet with women who are, having to cover themselves and not allowed to express themselves verbally, politically, in their bodies. And so there is a lot of oppression that is having to be rebalanced. And so we've had to take that balance kind of to the extreme, because that's a very extreme level of oppression that we have been experiencing as the feminine on the planet for a long time. But what I've seen, and this is often can be a theme that happens when something is so far on one side, sometimes we have to go so far to the other side to achieve some kind of balance. But then, we have to come back into that space of balance, and that's just a process of our evolution and our maturation. It's not good to sit in an extremity for too long. We can go to those extremes maybe and learn from them if we have to, if that's a part of our process, but always trying to find that middle path. That's how I like to walk. And so, the other side of that, what I just spoke to, has very much been this movement that we've been seeing in the New Age of these very like embodied tantrikas, or these super sexually liberated femme energies. And just this big, like, on one level, there's just been this big reclamation of us being in our bodies and feeling safe in our bodies and safe in our sexuality. Because I know for me, when I was exploring, the other end of the spectrum of the oppression that I experienced, when I would be in what felt like a very hypersexual expression, it was a way for me to practice feeling safe in my body and knowing that no matter how I'm dressing, how I'm acting, what I'm doing, this is not an invitation for somebody to take claim of my body. And that was a very necessary part of my journey. And that looked honestly like me just really in my body in a way that may have in moments been perceived as very erotic by an outside viewer, or even just like sharing things online where my body was very exposed. But as I've grown and as I've claimed more of my personal power and come more into this space of wholeness and been entrusted with more and more mana, authority, influence, kind of spiritual power, I really watched myself very naturally just retract from that and come back into this much more protective energy. I feel a lot more protective of my sexual energy because I've actually really learned how powerful it is and what it can draw in. And when it is being misguided, misled, and misused, how dangerous that is for me and the other people around me. And also how depleting it is to its actual potency and capacity and power to create change. Some of the ways that it can just be very destructive to the person who is wielding that energy, we have to be mindful because a lot of time it's being wielded again in the name of empowerment. But there's also many, many, many layers to this. And we have to, as women who are, holding this power and holding this energy, like we have to be really responsible for tracking and being mindful of like, what is the root of where this energy is surfacing from in me? And what is the effect that it's having on the people around me? And we just have to take responsibility for that because it is that powerful. I'm going to start giving some examples because I feel like I'm saying a lot, but I don't know how it's going to be landing or making sense for another person. So let me give some examples, okay? You're at a gathering, you're at an event, you're at a party, and you spend a lot of time getting ready for this party to make yourself very presentable in a way that is alluring and attractive to other people, likely based in the male gaze, okay? You go to this party and you're very concerned and mindful of, okay, how am I being perceived? How am I posturing myself? Who is aware of me? Whose energy is on me? And whose energy do I want to be on me here? And there's sort of this exuding of this energy, this emanation of this energy that is seductive. And it's wanting, and it's alluring, and it's pulling energy, and it's drawing energy into itself, and it's making it about itself. This is when that energy becomes dangerous because, number one, we are on a frequency level communicating that we are not in a space of wholeness because we are sourcing. That is what sorcery is. You're sourcing energy outside of yourself. There's a difference between being just like in a state of observation and just noticing when there is energy and attention that is flowing to you, and when you are manipulating space and manipulating energies to constantly have attention onto you. And you can see this in the sort of like female archetype of the narcissist, where the second attention is not on them or the conversation starts to drift away from like them and their personal achievements or beauty or this or that, it always has to get brought back. And it's like this succubus vortex that energy just spirals and drains down, and it's all going into how they're being perceived. It's a vein drain. That's what I call it. It's draining the lifeblood of the people around it. But this person is like feeling more and more power and magnetism and access to resources and chi, and it can just get really out of control. It can get really out of control. And again, like humbly and just vulnerably, like I've witnessed more broken versions of myself in this, and I wasn't even conscious of it at the time when I was younger, and feeling so disconnected from the true Christ and my own true inner masculine. And so I was like looking for that outside of myself. And that's why I say it's more of just this like immature, uninitiated energy that's trying to find its way, that's trying to find its empowerment in the world. So we like have to have a lot of compassion for this, but also we have to be very honest that like on a deep, deep level, we know better. And if we know better, we cannot be merging with energies that are in that. Like for the masculine, when you are seeing a woman in that, you have resources and power and authority and mana that are important in creating lasting and sustainable change in your life and your community, and you want to do that for your beloved as well. But if you are with somebody who is constantly concerning themselves with how they look or how they're being perceived or what they have and the resources that they have access to and are available to them, and they're not as concerned with other people around them, their well-being, their story, their testimony, uplifting and empowering and inspiring them, or giving back and helping them, then you're gonna be, and if you're investing your energy and your time into that feminine energy that is like disconnected from the source, you're gonna be putting your eggs in the wrong basket, and you're going to start to watch your life force and everything that you work so hard for start to get slowly drained and depleted down this succubus life drain, this vein drain, right? So watch out for that as a masculine, and as a feminine also watch out for that. And really we have to watch out for it in ourselves, because we are all susceptible to the ways of the flesh. If you are in a body, I don't care how close you are to God, how close you are to Christ, how much work you've done on yourself, we are all still wounded, we're still healing. And so we have to be honest with ourselves that these energies have the potential to arise and express themselves in us. But if we are truly embodied and are watching these things happen and aware of our shadows and in relationship with our shadows, we get to ultimately be the ones to say, hey, the mother, gets to come in and take that maiden energy and say, hey, I love you, come home, bring the energy back in here, I see you, you're enough, I validate you. You are beautiful. You are good. Now, from that rooted and whole place, let's get right with ourselves. And instead of worrying so much about what everyone else is thinking and who thinks we're sexy or sexual or this or that, how can we be of service? How can we actually nourish the people around us in this space? Because, and this is where it really sucks the most for the succubus, okay? When you're outsourcing energy like that, it's finite and it's never enough. And you might get the things that you want. You might get the job opportunities. You might get the man that you want. You might get the friend that you want, ladder climb to the place that you want, but it's never going to be enough. It's never going to fulfill you and fully satisfy your soul. And you are keeping yourself in this sort of trapped hell where you're not sourcing energy correctly and you're not connecting your sexual energy in with the infinite life force of creation magic, and you're kind of pissing it down this drain, and you are you're fracturing your ability to actually be of service and actually be in real creation magic and be aware and attuned. Because look, where attention goes, energy flows. So if your attention is just constantly on yourself and what you look like, how important people think that you are, this, that, the other thing, it's not going to be flowing in the direction of really being of service and bettering the lives of other people, or going into these much deeper realms of access that we have as the feminine. But when we're so hyper fixated on just this one expression of our femininity, maybe being the seductress, we're missing out on these other textures and versions of ourselves that are super fucking interesting and inspiring and have so much to share and say and so much good and beauty to bring. Our beauty, the beauty that we bring into the space, is so not about our looks. It's the emanation of the essence of our true being. And sometimes when we're masquerading that constantly in this, like, how do I look, and my obsession with my youth and my beauty and my sex and my this and my that, like, it just doesn't leave space for the other versions of us that are sitting at the table of like the wise one, of the crone, of the mother. You know, when an energy is coming to you, let's say there's a man that comes to you at this gathering, hypothetically, and you're so worried about making sure that he thinks that you're something sexy and something fun. So you're like in that space, but if you just dropped in a little bit deeper and you actually like felt into him and what he actually needs in that moment, or what the purpose is of you two coming together into that moment. Maybe this man is like really struggling in his relationship with the mother or with the feminine, and he really just needs to feel like somebody fucking cares about him for him. And you get to actually be there and be like, yo, my brother, like, I'm here for you. I'm here to listen to you. Like, how are you? Right? Instead of just making it about me and oh my God, do you like this? Do you like that? Yeah. Or like boosting up his ego. Like, we don't need that. We need to be women seated and centered in our hearts, a heart of hearts, and scanning our environment. We lose access to that power and capacity as well, to just be tuning in our awareness of like what is needed, and like how can I really be of service in this space and to the people in this space, in this environment. And so this is what I'm trying to communicate, and I'm not trying to shame the seductress, I'm not trying to shame the sorceress, but you're missing out. You're missing out on like the true juice and the true fruit of like your full capacity and embodiment as a whole and integrated being, when you're so hyper fixated on constantly identifying with this seductress archetype, because society has taught us that that's the most important thing that a woman can be, and that's the way you're going to get resources. Sex sells, right, my ladies? That's the way we see a lot of girls pulling in money. I have watched so many people around me in the spiritual community like fucking ball off sex work. So there's this lot of pressure, right? To like, well, that's working. Like, yeah, it's my sorceress magic. No. You're missing the actual thing. Okay. I'm going to back this up with scripture. This verse came up in church this morning and I was like, yes, this is it. Okay. This is from Galatians 5, I think 19 to 23. Okay. When you follow the desires of your sinful nature, this is how you will know, okay? The results are very clear. Sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and other sins like these. Let me tell you again, as I have before, that anything living that sort of life will not inherit the kingdom of God. I feel convicted by that. If you're hearing that and you're feeling convicted by that, let it convict you. There's something there that your spirit is trying to tell you. It goes on to say, but the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives, okay? This is what we need to put our energy toward and be more concerned with, because this is what's going to actually give us the thing that is everlasting contentment and peace and sustainability. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There's no law against these things. I don't feel like, and I think this is a reason that a lot of people don't fuck with scripture, is because they're like, nah, I don't want to abide by that. I don't want to believe that there's like this punishment reward system that I'm operating in. I want to believe that I can just like do what the fuck I want, get what I want, and there's no consequence. Like, there's my bag, there's my money, there's my opportunity, there's my love. But like, we at some point just have to fucking get honest with ourselves about the reality of how empty that way of living leaves us feeling. You might get all of the things, but there's some part of you, there's some hungry ghost that it's just not enough. You're not beautiful enough. Your partner that you called in that you wanted so much because of all of his status and this and that is eventually not enough. You want more. You're looking at this man. You need this now amount of money. You got this amount of money. You need this now. It does not. And there's no real peace in that. And that is the kingdom of heaven. That circuit of abundance, of sustainability, of generosity, of giving to those around you, and not being on some crazy ego trip about what you have, right? And just flaunting that. That is where the spirit wants to reside. in that space of the kingdom of heaven. So it's literally just telling you, like, black and white, laying it out there. Like, this is just what it is. This is spiritual law. And we can sit there and we can justify all the ways of our flesh and tell us, oh, this is actually empowering to me and this and that. And, you know, I'm not going to denounce that might be true for a person in a moment, but like when we start to really feel and when we get honest with ourselves and we start to really hold ourselves accountable, when we're starting to cross a line and say, you know what, I'm making justifications for my flesh. And I need to come home. And it's okay that I've been living in this way, but it's not okay when I become aware, because I will just say in my walk, you know, there has been provision for me in my life and protection for me when I have been living in sin and I have been ignorant of that sin. But the second that I awake and I know, okay, no, this is coming in very clear, this behavior needs to stop in me, there's not the same kind of provision from my angels, guide, spirit team, creator, Yeshua. It's like, okay, now that you're aware of this, like, you are responsible for changing your ways, because there are consequences to this. And once you become in that and you see that, we just have to accept that, yes, there are consequences to our actions, you guys. There is karma that happens when we are operating in our flesh in that way, undeniably. And it's not just, we're not ever feeling satiated and full. People can also get STDs, unwanted pregnancies. There's, you know, the feeling of lack consciousness constantly haunting us, envy of other people, and also we're missing out on being a vibrational match then for the truest, deepest, most honest loves of our life, which we so deserve. So we're keeping ourselves from our heart's ultimate desires, which is not right. We deserve to live in those. But that, what is most right for us is gonna call us into a righteousness. We have to be able to trust ourselves with our energy. And when we're wielding that energy in a manipulative way, it's because we don't actually trust. We don't trust what is meant for us is going to come to us, so we're going to go out of our way and get it. Anytime I have ever gotten something like that in my life, it has not lasted and it has not been what I ultimately wanted. I asked Creator for, this is like kind of tangenting, but I don't know, this dream just wanted to come into this channeling right now. So, you know, I asked Creator for a vision to be shown how two beloveds, the ultimate beloveds, like, can recognize each other and come to one another when there's no longer this game of like peacocking, like seductive peacocking, you know, men peacocking their resources and their importance, and women peacocking their sexuality and their promiscuity and whatever. And then you're in that like transactional space, right? So like, what's below that? What's deeper than that? How can two souls that are like really walking with God, that aren't reaching, that aren't being manipulative and sourcing outside of themselves that energy, how do they find each other? And God showed me this. It was when I was at Burning Man, and I was out on the playa literally for days on my own, just like going so deep with God and Creator, and yeah, asking these real questions about union and all sorts of things. But this was shown. Two beings, and it was in like a crowd and a sea of these like more like peacocking, presenting very feminine, but like not actually rooted in the true divine feminine, presenting very masculine, but not actually rooted in the true divine masculine. And they were all gaming each other in this space. But then there was two initiates that were like really in it and ready, and they were fully cloaked, and they were on opposite sides of the crowd. And before they ever saw each other, there was a full vibrational recognition and resonance with the other. And there was just a feeling of like, I feel you here. I feel you present in this space. And then these two energies just very naturally, magnetically started to attract towards one another and entered into this space of like total stillness, total cover. This man could feel this power and the beauty of this woman without ever seeing her face, without ever seeing her breasts or her body or shape or anything, her eyes. And she could feel that in him as well, because of this energetic and spiritual posturing of being a calibrated match. And that alignment just brought these two together. And then in the vision, they both kind of unveiled themselves, and it was like, this is like beautiful recognition of the other for their unique essence and soul print. That's the kind of way I want to merge. I want to come together with somebody, not because you know, I was twerking the loudest in the room. And girls, I just want to say, like, I am not, like, you guys know me and you've seen me on the dance floor, you know your girl likes to get down. Girl likes to throw some ass, girl likes to shake. Like, really for the ancestors. But that's not the only way. That is not the only way to be expressing oneself. If you need to go there for a moment and like give that to the earth and actually make that about you and your prayer, like, dope. But if you are doing that and you are like, like, this guy is like checking that out right now, like, you're pulling him out of his center. You're pulling energy towards you that, like, it may be wanted from that man, but you're also probably pulling that from a lot of other men that you don't want that from too. So now what are you in a frequency match for? Something else we have to be aware of. And I'm not trying to make a claim that like women are ever responsible for, you know, like inviting men by being in our bodies, inviting men to cross any kind of lines with us, like consent, no matter how I'm dressed, how I'm expressing myself. But the reality is, like, we're coming out of a fallen world where there's a lot of weak, programmed men that are just like so enslaved to their flesh, so enslaved to their sin, so programmed by pornography. So if we do want to just make sure that like we're armored, we're protected, we're safe, we're not like calling that energy in, like, it's just easier. It's easier to walk through the world. And I had an elder in the teepee really talk to me about this. And she was like, yo, young women, young girls, like, when I was brought up in the teepee, I was taught, move through the world as quietly as possible. And it's not a suppression of you. It's not an oppression of you to do that. It's actually like, because I know how powerful I am and how much work I actually have the capacity to get done, I'm going to hold my mana and hold my chi here, and I can get more work done. She said, you can get so much more work done when you're moving through the world more quietly. And, you know, I took that in and I heard that, and I'm like, I'm all Leo. I'm a performer, I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, and I'm like, okay, I love that, and like, I'm gonna cop that, and like, I do want to have moments in my life where I'm just in that seat, and I'm in that posture, and I'm not calling and drawing attention and energy to myself because like I have other work to do in the realms and in the space. But also, if I feel called to use my voice and to talk and to share, just as she took that moment in the teepee to do, like, I'm also gonna do that. And I feel like creator and especially the multi-dimensional capacity of the divine feminine is like really asking us to be able to take these different seats in ourselves, in our femininity. And again, if we're like hyper fixated on always being sexual, always being seductive, we're missing out on our true capacity and power and all the different textures and expressions that we could find ourselves in, and we're making ourselves less and less interesting, and then we're kind of thieving and robbing ourselves of like this richness of life that's available. If I'm constantly worrying about getting all this attention from men, I might not be aware of the fact that there is an elder in the space that has wisdom codes for me, or a child in the space that has joy codes for me to connect with, you know? So like, let's get out of our own way in that and just like embrace ourselves as full human beings and stop objectifying ourselves. Please, 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 especially in the name of empowerment, because it's actually not. And we have to start being honest with ourselves too. If we're attracting men who are constantly valuing us based on our lust and our sex, and if we're not going to put out, they're not going to be there, like, we have to take some responsibility for what we're doing vibrationally to create that. You know, you're with the man and he's with you, but then, now he like, actually, I kind of want to like explore this other energy, this other woman, that the other. It's like, what kind of energy was, and this is what humbled me and really started to bring me out of this. I was like, damn, you know, I thought I'm coming correct with my energy, but truly, like, the overexerting of my sexual energy and its expression was aligning me and drawing men that were like not anchored in like their true Christ code. They were totally still in their flesh and their lust, and like we played to that and each other, and that never ends well. For me, I'm like, that's not the base of true union and true kingdom spouse codes that I'm calling in for my life. And so like, I was brought into loving correction, and I just want to share that because I feel like actually that's what most of us want and are after, but then we're leading with our sexuality, and then we're like constantly frustrated of like, wait, why is this continuing to happen to me? And we're not victims to that. Like, we're creating that, actively, consciously creating that. And when we become aware, we can come out of that, right? So I really just pray that this message, like, brings forth anyone who needs to hear it, that you can feel like my intention in this share, and not that I'm here to like shame or judge or whatever, but really just, you know, encouraging us to rise as the feminine and be mindful of our power and cautious of that, and realize that it's like, it's only really hurting us the most in the end. Yeah, it's not great to be drawing other people out of their center. I don't want to say that like us being in our sexual expression and energy is also like a threat to other unions, because I think that true union is like held in the power of promise, regardless of its external circumstances. But at the same time, like, you know, again, if you're at a gathering and you see a couple and you're in your expression and it's like pretty juicy, and you start to notice that it's like pulling, that man's energy keeps going towards you, instead of like getting off on that, maybe be like, you know what? I'm going to reposition myself right now. Like, yeah, I deserve to be in this. This is for me. This is for my prayer right now. But if I become aware of the fact that this is happening, let me just like not make this any more challenging for this man. Or and some people might really disagree with what I just said. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not moving around other people's, you know, I'm not going to cover up because some man can't handle his shit. But for me personally, it's just like out of respect for that other woman too. Yeah, sure, maybe it's not like the best idea for her to be with some dude that's like still struggling so much with his seed and his chi, but I just think we need to be conscious of that and sensitive to that, because I have also, you know, been that seat of that woman as well, and watched men that I've been with get their energy pulled into other sorceress energies in the space, and it's like, well, number one, like, where was I at in my level of security, in my sexuality, to even be a match for that kind of man? True, but it would have been nice, you know, if those women weren't just like getting so off on that, extra super off on that, because like that energy that's so starved, that sorceress energy that's like needing that so badly, it gets like extra off on the fact that like they're taking energy from a man that's like with another beautiful woman, because it's like, I must be more beautiful than her. It's sick. It's sick in the head, right? We don't want to feed that sickness. We don't want to feed that part of our flesh. Like, we want to feed our whole true Christed selves. We want to be respectful and mindful of the people in our space, keeping men in their center, okay? Keeping ourselves in our center, keeping ourselves locked in, being aware of the sensitivity of the other women around us, the marriages, the relationships around us. We want to be thriving in a tribe that's truly supportive of other relationships. We cannot be having this energy, this leaky ass energy in our communities. It's not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable. It's not good. Men are only men. Yes, we have flesh, so we have to, as the wielders of this magic and energy, take accountability for that. And so that's really the heart of the message today. There's some more scripture I wanted to quote that's just really like kind of to back this word I will leave us with. So Proverbs 31:10 says, a wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. And she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And then this is 1 Peter. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. If you guys want to read like all of Proverbs 31:10-31, is really like filled with these like beautiful virtues that, you know, as godly women we're encouraged to seek. And again, I just like putting the attention on those, being a woman of noble character, of speaking good things on her tongue, of doing good work, you know, and not just being so cyborged into like a narcissistic trip, you know, about how important we are, how we're being perceived, how we look, how this, that, how much we got, how much they got. I don't want to, like, I'm not playing that game, and I don't want to be deeply connected to and consistently connecting with other people that are playing that game. And even if they do have hella resources or super super creative powers and we could collab, like I'm not even gonna vibe with those energies like on a real level, on a deep level in friendship, because straight up, like I cannot trust that. I can't trust that leaky ass energy. I'm not gonna merge my energy with that in any kind of intimate way, not on a collaboration, not on a project, not in a relationship, because I value myself too much. I value my work too much, and I value like respect, and I have to have respect with myself and know that I'm being right with myself, and I have to have respect for other people. And like we can hold unconditional love for others and like not fucking respect them. And I'm gonna be straight up honest, like I have so much love for so many people in the communities that I have danced in and that I have been in, and I do not see myself as better than anyone. This is not coming from a righteous space, but like as I've grown, as I've matured, as I've learned, and as I've come into this understanding with myself, Christ has really just guided me to be so cautious of like, yo, now that you know better and you see that energy, you have to be discerning, you have to have boundaries, and you have to protect your energy from that. And that's on period. And that's just radical self-love right there. So yeah, I leave that, and I hope that that is like really received, felt, heard by whoever needs to hear it, encouraging. I feel like I'm coming out on this channel and I'm speaking a lot of like strong beliefs, you know, strong opinions, strong statements. I'm about to drop some music that's like gonna piss a lot of people off, you know, and God is really like, yo, speak it, because somebody has to talk about it. Somebody has to talk about pornography. Somebody has to talk about promiscuity. Somebody has to talk about plastic surgery. Somebody has to talk about the shit that's happening that is leading us into a path of death and destruction. And like I care, like I have Christ in my heart, and Christ cares about our salvation more than anything. I care more about your salvation than being liked by you. Straight up, hear me please. And if you are in my community and you see me and you feel convicted by any of the things that I'm saying here, please know that I fucking love you on the deepest levels. I love you on the deepest levels. And I see you in your shadow, I see you in your light, and I don't judge you for that. I don't know what the fuck you've walked through, where you've come from. I'm sure there's reasons for it, but I have to speak this truth. Like it's beyond me, right? I feel emotional about that because I've watched myself honestly be like exiled, and by choice I've exiled myself from certain communities that I could have been a part of if I was willing to like play that game on that level, and I just wasn't. And even though it felt like, wait, you know, we're resonating on a lot of similar frequencies, we like a lot of the same things, like I'm not gonna move like that because that's not real for me, that's not true for me. I'm not gonna outsource energy. I'm not gonna let my energy be sourced like that. And it's been fucking lonely. But at the end of the day, like I'm here for Jaja, and I just pray for loving correction to be brought in so that we can actually live and breathe and be in communities where people like feel actually safe with one another, feel actually safe to show up with their partners and in their relationships, and know that they are not going to be targeted and attacked by unconscious, manipulative, seductress, sexual energies that are flaunting themselves in the name of empowerment. And yeah, people that, you know, are like actually getting their bag, actually getting their money from ways that are truly connected to like their creativity and their magic, that's actually helping other people, and not just like a rebranding of sex work, you know, right? So it's hard because a previous version of me would be like, yeah, no judgment, no shame, like there's nothing wrong with that, like get your God, honey, but it's like that's not real feminine empowerment. And I can't continue to just sit there and like hold my tongue on this, you know, just to keep people happy, stay liked. Because I'm here for true love, I'm here for true union, I'm here for true empowerment, I'm here for the truth. And I can just see that that's not ultimate truth. It might be like your truth for now, it might be working for you, but like I'm being given a grander vision by my womb space, by Great Spirit, and I can say all this, but like you just feel it into it for you. You feel into this for you, how it's landing for you. If you are being convicted in this, like go into that with yourselves. And I know it might be fucking scary because you might be providing your whole life off of your sexual energy. The base of your entire relationship might be off of the way that you are parading in your sexual energy. So it's fucking scary, right? To feel like this is the foundation of what you have. But you knew that when you started to build it on that, right? So you knew if you were going to evolve out of this, that there was inevitably going to be a collapse. So like, go to the King of Kings, let him hold your hand and walk you through that and provide for you in a way that's not going to be so freaking extractive and transactional, because you deserve more. And there's some people that just are like, they're loving it. They think that they're loving it. They're in their flesh. They're in their carnal being. And like, I'm not even, that's cool. I'm talking to the people that are like really ready for the kingdom of heaven on earth, and not just to be kings and queens in the kingdom of darkness on earth. Okay? I freaking love you guys, all of you. This is a brave word. I'm nervous to put this out, but I'm gonna. And yeah, may it reach all the ears it's meant to.